snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So again, I am still at my grandma's house, as you guys can see from the completely different bookshelf behind me. These are not my books, they are my grandparents' books. Quite a lot of random ones. Anyway, let's get on with my wrap-up. This is my wrap-up for August. I actually managed to read a grand total of 8 books, which I was really happy with, considering that I didn't have too much time this month. It was sort of hit and miss whether or not I was going to be able to read. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that and I'm pretty happy with that. So the first book that I ended up reading in the month of August was The Arithmetist by Sanderson. And I absolutely love this book. It was a really fun, whimsical story about a young boy who really wants to be an arithmetist. Arithmetist is someone who can control and animate chalk drawings, which is a really cool idea. This world was really interesting. The ideas of the turmoil of the world were really cool, and I definitely feel like that's going to be developed in book number 2, so I'm looking forward to it. And just the whole idea was really fun and quirky, and the characters were entertaining, so it was a good read and I ended up giving that one a 4 out of 5 stars. Next I moved on to another children's book, and that was Ranger's Apprentice number 2, which is The Burning Bridge by John Flanagan. And again, as I said, this is another children's book. It's a very short book in a fairly long series. I think there's about 12 or 14 books. I really am enjoying this series. I think it's just really light-hearted and fun. It's definitely a really entertaining fantasy story. It's about these kids who are training to become rangers, and they're training to become battle masters and all sorts of really interesting things, told from the point of view of these children, and it's about how they kind of come of age slowly throughout the series and the problems and the trials and tribulations that they face along the way. So it's a really charming read, and I would definitely recommend this series to anyone who wants to pick up a really fun, light-hearted kids fantasy. So this one, again, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read the graphic novel Pretty Deadly, which is written by Kelly Sue DeConnick. I didn't really know very much about it when I bought it, except that it was recommended by Mercedes, but it was really interesting. There are so many different parallel storylines going on at once. It does get a little bit confusing. The artwork was pretty good, but the thing that really won me over was the colour schemes. The way that the colours are mixed together and the way that the different pages all have different colour themes was really beautiful. It was just gorgeously coloured, so whoever did the colour design of that, they were amazing, and I definitely want to pick up volume 2. Again, I gave this one a 4 out of 5 star rating. Not bad so far. Next, I finished up Unfettered, which is by Sean Speakman. This is an anthology, which is a collection of various different authors' work, which Sean Speakman has pulled together into his anthology in order to pay off his medical bills. I really enjoyed this anthology. I think it's probably one of the best ones I've ever read. There were an awful lot of really interesting stories, and it really made me want to check out more and more of these authors who I'd never heard of before and whom I was really interested in. So yeah, I would highly recommend this anthology. If you don't know what anthology to start with, then this is a really good one, and there are an awful lot of wonderful stories within it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars overall. Next, I picked up Legion and the Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson. This is a collection of 2 different novellas, and they were both really exciting, both really short but super interesting. The second one was my favourite, The Emperor's Soul, just because I love the world building and I love the idea of the magical system in that more, because the first one wasn't really a magic system, it was more just a really interesting and thought-provoking idea. I really like both of them. The first one is about a guy who has hallucinations in his head, which basically are so smart, so interesting, and they can help him to solve all sorts of mysteries, so he ends up going on a mystery, and it's kind of like a detective story in a way, but with some twists along the way, and it's really interesting. The Emperor's Soul is about a young woman who is a forger, and she can basically, as long as she knows the history of an object or of a person, then she can kind of rewrite the soul of that object or person in order to change them into something different, or change them in subtle ways to make them slightly different. So it was a really cool idea. I absolutely loved it. It's also set in the world of Elantris, which is a lovely thing because Elantris was actually the first book by Brandon Sanderson that I ever read and that got me into his work. So I have a soft spot in my heart for Elantris and I really like it. But yeah, if you are a Sanderson fan or if you just want to get into Brandon Sanderson because this is a very short read and a really fun one, then I would highly, highly recommend this book to you guys. And I gave it a 4.75 star rating because I am awkward like that and I really loved it, but yeah, it was amazing, so go and pick that up if you haven't already. Next, I read Towerlord by Anthony Ryan. This book I was really looking forward to and I really wanted to be wowed by it like I was with Bloodsong. I absolutely adored Bloodsong, but I felt like Towerlord lost some of the entertainment value that Bloodsong had for me. It was still a really entertaining read, it was really good, but it just didn't have the fun factor that Bloodsong did and the sort of amusement factor that Bloodsong did for me. So that was a bit unfortunate and I felt like it could have been better if it had not gone into various different points of view or if some of the characters had overlapped more. But I did really enjoy it and as I said, it was not a bad book at all. I really enjoyed it. It just wasn't as good as the first one, so it was a slight letdown in that respect. I ended up giving that one a 3.5 star rating. It was still a good read and I would recommend you carry on with the series. I'm definitely going to be picking up book number 3 whenever it comes out. Next, I read 1984 by George Orwell. This book I read as part of the catch-up readathon, which I was doing in the last week of August. I'm still doing it, in fact. It's the last day of August today, so still doing it, but I read this on the first day and I really enjoyed it. I read it all in one day, so it was obviously a good book. I wasn't thinking I was going to enjoy it because I didn't know that classic could be fun. Usually classics are really terrifying or boring or just not my thing, but this one was and I really enjoyed it. So if you like fantasy or dystopian, then this is a really interesting idea of a world and a really interesting suppression of society. So I would love to see more of you guys go and read it. If you've not already, don't worry about the fact that it's a classic like I did for ages and don't put it off like I did because it's really, really good and I ended up giving that one a 4.5 star rating. Next, on day number 2 of the readathon, I read Survivor by Chuck Palahniuk and this is a book about a survivor of a cult who basically is very, very peculiar and very weird and he has to go through life and figure out how to live outside of this cult that he was brought up in. And it's a very entertaining read, but it's weird the whole way through. It's very peculiar. You get a lot of interesting things that happen, but they are also a bit wacky, a bit out there, so you don't really know what you're doing or where you stand with that. It was an okay read. I can't quite decide if I like it or don't because it's just so peculiar, but I ended up giving it a 2.5 star rating, just slap bang in the middle of 5 stars. I don't know which way to go with that one, so I would love to hear your thoughts on that if you have read it. Those are the 8 books that I managed to read throughout the month of August. I am still reading 4 other books at the same time. I'm partway through them, so I'm going to show you guys those ones now. I'm currently 426 pages through Battle Royale by Koshin Takami. This I am reading as part of the catch-up readathon. It is the last day today and it's only the morning, so I do have time to hopefully finish this up because it's about 600 pages, so I've only got about 180 to go. So I should be able to do it if I can read fast, but I would love to be able to finish this up today. However, I am filming the wrap up now, so if I do finish this today, it's still going to go into next month's wrap up. But I really am enjoying this so far. Amanda from the Marvellous Reading Room recommended this to me and she said it was amazing, so I'm so glad that I picked it up because I am also finding it so entertaining and fun and just a really action-packed read. So definitely go and check this out if you've not read it already because I think it's going to be really, really cool. I really want to know how it ends and I want to know what happens, so I'm going to keep on reading this today and I hope that it's really, really fun. The next book that I'm currently reading and have been for a while is Lord of Chaos, which is book number 6 in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. This book I am 167 pages through. I am listening to this in part on my audiobook that I have, or sometimes reading it and then skipping in the audiobook. You get the gist. But I'm really enjoying this series. I love the narration. I think it's really entertaining to hear it read out aloud and you can really imagine the world more, so I'm loving that. And I'm just really enjoying this, but I am taking it pretty slow because, as you know, these books are pretty hefty. This one's over 1,000 pages, so yeah, they're pretty big, but I'm really enjoying this so far, and hopefully I will be able to finish this up next month before I go back to uni, so yeah, that would be really cool. The next book is one that I've been reading for ages. I know I should have finished this by now, but I haven't, and that is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am really enjoying this, I just never feel the urge to pick it up. There are always other books that take priority over it for me, which is a bit of a shame, because when I do sit down and actually read it, I do enjoy it and I do get a fair way through it. I am 237 pages through this. There are about 500, so I'm pretty much halfway, but I haven't finished it up yet, so I need to do that, and I'm going to try and do this maybe in the first week of September, so we will see, let's hope. And the final book that I have started in the month of August but have not finished is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I am loving this book. I'm not very far in, 45 pages in, so I'm not very far at all, but I am really enjoying what I have read, and I'm certainly going to be finishing this up fairly soon in September because I'm loving it. So yeah, I would love to know all of your thoughts on any of these books that I have shown you guys. Please leave me comments down below, and I would love to chat to you guys about any of these, and I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little